Looking for a wonderful book? I've got 3 suggestions. Hey Gracious Gang, it's Mike from thegraciousguest.org, also from the Gracious Guest podcast, the blog, all sorts of other places that you can go and find out about the wonderful, the numinous, that certain experience in life that we can't quite put into words, but that gets us thinking about bigger things, things that are transcendent, truth, goodness, and beauty. All that is fair game at thegraciousguest.org. And today I just want to share with you a couple of books you might want to check out. The first one is Chance or the Dance, 1969 by Thomas Howard. This is a newer reprinting of it from Ignatius Press, and this is a book I first encountered in grad school that just blew my mind, and it's the kind of book you want to read over and over and over again. And just very quickly, I'll share here the description. It says, in this new edition of a modern classic, Thomas Howard contrasts the Christian and secular worldviews, refreshing our minds with the illuminated vision of reality that inspired the world in times past, and showing us that we cannot live meaningful lives without it. And what Howard really does, and some of these chapters I have to share with you here are just kind of intriguing, the titles of them, to give you a little taste of this. The Old Myth and the New, Of Dish Rags and Borzois, Lunch and Death, One Foot Up, One Foot Down, Sublimity, Soup Cans, etc., Autocrats, Autonomy, and Acorns, Sex, and Bravo the Humdrum. And what Howard really does throughout this book is he explores sometimes the most typically mundane experiences or images or encounters that we have in life, or things that we may not associate transcendence with. We just think it's kind of an average everyday part of life. And even though it may be something that is, as he says at the end, humdrum, totally ordinary, that even those things contain within them kind of fingerprints of the transcendent, evidence of the divine, a direct challenge to reductionism and to rationalism and relativism, all these isms, secularism ultimately, that tends to look at life and say, this, that, or the other thing just is this and doesn't mean or signify anything else. Like what you see is what you get. So Howard really takes issue with that worldview and suggests that we can look at evidence in the most ordinary of places to show that that kind of way of thinking just doesn't really get at it and ultimately doesn't lead anywhere. So a really incredible book. It's not a very long book. Again, Chance or the Dance, A Critique of Modern Secularism by Thomas Howard. Phenomenal book. You want to check that out. Another great book that deals with wonder is this more recent book. I think it came out in 2018, I want to say, by Dr. Peter Kreeft. Doors in the Walls of the World, also an Ignatius Press book. Doors in the Walls of the World, Signs of Transcendence in the Human Story. Kreeft, who's a friend of Thomas Howard, they're contemporaries, he does a lot of the same things, but in his own kind of style, which is very different. It's 2018. He looks at art, he looks at other experiences in our average everyday lives. He looks at scripture, he looks at connections to literature and to culture, and really explores this same kind of theme. And this is what it says. After William Shakespeare's Horatio sees the ghost of Hamlet's father and scarcely believes his own eyes, Hamlet tells him that there is more to reality than he can know or imagine, including ghosts. That's that famous passage, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophies. Hamlet's statement suggests that walls of the material world, which we perceive with our senses and analyze with our intellects, have doors that open into the more beyond them. Philosopher Peter Kreeft explains in this book that the more includes the absolute good, Platonic forms, God, gods, angels, spirits, ghosts, souls, Brahman, RTA, which I don't know how to pronounce, which is the Hindu ontological basis for cosmological karma. Say that 5 times fast. Nirvana, Tao, the will of heaven, the meaning of it all, something that deserves a capital letter. I love that phrase. So here Kreeft looks at a lot of the similar kinds of concepts that Thomas Howard does, but in his own kind of way. And it's really interesting. They're very different books, but also very similar, and I highly recommend them if you're interested in wonder. The last one, this will take you a little longer. See? Okay. Voyage to Alpha Centauri, a novel, just says a novel, by Michael D. O'Brien, the incredible novelist. a novel. It's a massive novel. My particular version here runs, let's see here, 586 pages, okay? So it's a bit of a slog, but well worth it, in my opinion. This particular edition I have was from 2013. So basically, this story is absolutely magnificent, in my opinion. It takes place in the near future. I want to say, I don't have the exact date in front of me, but late 21st century, and then kind of into knocking on the 22nd century. And then there's other parts that take place at other times. I don't want to get too much into it, no spoilers, but it's essentially following the adventures, you could say, the drama, the sort of really kind of stretched out epic of folks on this flying city, really, the ship. It's called the Cosmos, and it's a space journey with representatives of humanity, mostly people of different necessary, backgrounds according to the worldview at the time, right? Scientists, doctors, different kind of cultural anthropologists, and figures that are foremost minds in their fields, traveling on this journey that is going to take, I think it's 10 years out and then 9 years back, or vice versa. It's going to be a 20-year round trip plus time in between to go to the nearest inhabitable planet to us in the next galaxy over, basically. Or they're flying to Alpha Centauri and the planets around Alpha Centauri to attempt to explore them, potentially set up a colony there and all that kind of stuff. And so it's a very slow pace as you go through this book. There's a lot of stuff that you encounter the main characters experiencing on the ship, on the journey there, that are just really well crafted, I think, by O'Brien, where he kind of gets you in the mindset of what are things like back on Earth. And it's a very believable near future where all these issues and problems we're seeing here in our world today, what is it like for these people who are leaving that on this journey over the course of 9 or 10 years, as they come to grips with it, as they encounter some of that same stuff they tried to leave behind them at home is now with them on this journey, some of the same sort of governmental oversight, Big Brother stuff, social issues, life issues, relationship, concepts of human relationship, what is and is not proper, expected, all those kinds of questions. And so all that is really there as this character development really goes through the course of the book. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper into these characters, and you connect with them, and you really kind of understand where they're coming from, and it's very, very interesting. And it builds up to this really dramatic sort of central portion of the book where they're on this planet and all the very unexpected things that happen while they're there. I won't say any more than that. And then the return journey and the dramatic kind of culmination in the main character's life. So if you're into longer novels and you like some of those themes, a lot of questions, great, important questions that this book brings up, but not really in a preachy way, in a very believable way. So those are 3 books I wanted to suggest to you. If you're a reader, if you're interested in going a little bit deeper, we have, again, Thomas Howard, Chance or the Dance, a must-read. Dr. Peter Kreeft's book, Doors in the Walls of the World. And then lastly, but most certainly not least, Michael D. O'Brien's Voyage to Alpha Centauri. I'm Mike Creevy. GraciousGuest.org is the website. You want to check that out? Shoot me an email at thegraciousguest@gmail.com or go to the forum on the website. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel for future updates on different topics and things I'm up to, suggestions for you that have to do with faith and culture and the transcendent. And last but not least, definitely check out the podcast as well and get your friends to subscribe if they haven't done so already. The Gracious Guest Show. Find it on any podcast service anywhere. I've got all my stuff out there, and you can follow my work there. So thanks so much, and until next time, don't forget to wonder. Take care.